Hi, I'm Colleen McMillan. I'm a psychic, creative medicine woman, and musician, and I help people connect to the power of their unique creative voice and share it through the world, finding more joy and fulfillment. So today I want to talk about something that's probably on a lot of people's minds. A lot of us make New Year's resolutions or we set winter solstice intentions, but as the days and weeks and months pass, what normally happens? A lot of us have trouble maintaining those new habits, maintaining those intentions, remembering the original energy with which we set those intentions. So I wanted to share a few tips and tricks that have helped me and some of my clients maintain big life changes and new habits. So one of the main things that I think is really neglected when we set new intentions is the downtime and the self-care time that it takes to process new habits and new ideas. So one of the things that in our busy society, even though a lot of us have slowed down for the pandemic, our lives are still very, very busy. And so in the midst of all of that, we don't give ourselves a lot of time to process new information, to process new ideas and new ways of being. And so some of these tips are going to be pretty easy for you. Some of them may be some that you've never heard before, but all of them are going to help you take better care of yourself so that you can focus more on achieving your goals, taking your business to the next level, taking your relationships to the next level, and really engaging joyfully and with fulfillment in your life. So, as I said, one of the things that we often neglect when we set a New Year's resolution or a solstice intention is the idea that our bodies and our minds need time to process this different way of being. So one of the main things that is really important as we're making a shift, whether that's, exercising more, eating well, is giving ourselves a little bit of downtime every single day to check in with ourselves, to check in with our bodies. Because one of the main things that will take us off the path of really dramatic change is getting caught up in our anxiety, getting caught up in fear, getting caught up in, just the crap of life that drove us to maybe those less helpful and less healthy habits. So one of the main ways that we can check in with ourselves every day and multiple times a day is to have a really, really brief mindfulness practice. So what does that consist of? This doesn't mean you have to sit in a meditation room and meditate for an hour every day. This is literally just you wake up in the morning, you check in with your body, you check in with how you're breathing. Did you wake up feeling bad today? Did you wake up feeling energized today? How are you feeling today? If you woke up and maybe your body doesn't feel so hot, or maybe you're already worried about all of these things on your list, then take a moment and give yourself that time to calm yourself down. Because if you run right into the thing you're anxious about, or you try and force yourself to push through something that your body is really telling you, then it's just going to respond with more sluggishness, and you're going to want to do the thing less next time. So really, all this takes is 30 seconds. So you can even try it now. If you want to just take 10 seconds, close your eyes, and I'll count it down for you. And I just want you to do a very quick body scan, check in with your breathing, maybe see if you can feel your heart rate, and see if there's anywhere in your body that's aching or hurting. So take just 10 seconds right now. So what did you discover? It's really amazing how quickly we can do a full body assessment, do a full psychological assessment on ourselves, and understand where we are in that moment. And the more that we do this, the more times a day we take 10 seconds just to check in with ourselves, the more we can find those places of grounding where we are able to maintain the habits and the intentions that we set. So I recommend doing this as soon as you wake up, taking 10 seconds, just doing a full body scan, checking out how you feel physically and mentally and emotionally. And then also, some other great times to do this are at a stoplight if you're driving, while you're waiting in line at the bank or anywhere else, at the grocery checkout. You can also do it just when as you're on your way to your lunch. And then, of course, I always recommend doing another check once you lay down for bed at night, just to see where you're at and maybe comparing how you felt in the morning versus how you felt in the evening. So this mindfulness check is incredibly helpful in keeping us grounded. Now, during these times, we can also use this information to remind ourselves of our intentions that we set for the new year. So this can be anything from, we can do this literally by keeping little Post-it notes everywhere. One of the things that I did for myself one year when I set an intention to stretch more was to put one in my car, to put a little Post-it note in my car. I even made a little wallpaper for my phone so I would remember, okay, sit up straight, roll the shoulders, and just move a little bit, stretch a little bit. And this really helped me work this intention of bringing more movement into my body, bringing more movement into my life, into my life in a way that made it seem accessible. And I think that that's the one thing that we really sometimes have trouble with, is making our goals accessible, making them something that we can work into our life already. Because if we try and just like go from one state of being to a completely different state of being, whether that's again with our diet, with our movement practice, with a spiritual practice, or even with, taking our business to the next level, it's going to feel so uncomfortable that a lot of times we're going to contract and we're not going to be able to make it all the way. So the key is to work it into your life every single day. Work these new little tiny habits. So like I said, mindfulness is a great way to remind yourself of your intentions and also to check in every single day with how you're feeling. Now, on top of mindfulness, we want to start building in some habits of self-care. Now, one of the things that I'm big on is clearing energy. I clear energy multiple times a day. So there are a lot of different ways that we can do that. We can clear energy by using herbs and resins and oils. So of course, most people know about sage. You can use sage to clear your energy or clear the energy of a space. One of my favorites is Palo Santo, which is the wood of a tree. And it's actually especially used for the heart, for love and creativity. I do want to make a note about Palo Santo. If you use that to clear your energy, make sure that you're getting it from a sustainable source. And actually, this goes for all of the herbs or oils or things that you might use in your spiritual practices. You always want to make sure that they're coming from a sustainable source that is paying people a fair wage. I personally recommend finding your smudging herbs and everything on Etsy, because you can connect with individual growers, individual people who are preparing it, I look for people who are growing things sustainably, harvesting them sustainably. When I buy sage especially, I buy from somebody who is Northern American indigenous, and she grows the herbs herself. And so I know that she is growing them with prayers, she's harvesting them with prayers, and she's sending them out into the world from a place of groundedness and respect for the land that has given us these beautiful plants. So I always like to make a note of that, because it's very important, especially in our world, and as these practices spread around to non-native populations, that we have a respect for the traditions that they come from, as well as the resources that we are taking from the earth. So as I said, you can use herbs, sage, Palo Santo. There's a beautiful herb called Yerba Santa, which is beautiful for our heart and lungs. Sweetgrass is one of my personal favorites. It personally helps me connect to the divine feminine. And then also, there are so many other bundles, though. I mean, you can even use rosemary. If you can find fresh rosemary and dry it yourself, you can use rosemary to smudge your place. There's also juniper, sandalwood, cedar, all kinds of different herbs. So you can burn these. You can use resins like frankincense and copal, myrrh. And then, of course, one of my personal favorites is using essential oils to clear my energy. So I want to particularly emphasize that some of my favorites for clearing my energy, oils that I always have on me, are cedarwood, peppermint, lavender, and eucalyptus. So cedarwood is very good for grounding. So if you're feeling like you're kind of all over the place and your mind's a little bit scattered, this is another thing that is going to take you off track with a resolution or intention. Is if you're distracted, you might reach for those chips instead of a healthy snack or something like that, right? So using cedarwood to bring ourselves back to center is very, very helpful in helping us move forward incrementally to achieving those self-improvement goals. Peppermint is another one I absolutely love. It's energizing, as well as it brings us and connects us to some of the higher planes, because we get that opening of the lungs, we get that opening of the sinuses. So I love to use peppermint in the middle of the day, maybe after I've had lunch and I'm feeling a little bit like less energized. Peppermint is a great way to re-energize, and instead of moving into maybe some caffeine or something like that. If we are feeling especially anxious, lavender oil is incredibly good for bringing us back down, as well as one of my favorite things about lavender is that it is both grounding and relaxing, as well as uplifting and able to connect us to the higher spiritual planes. It's got a very high vibration, and I love, love using it. So eucalyptus is one that I personally use a lot because I live in the desert and my lungs are always kind of like picking up dust and things like that. And so when we are having trouble with our lungs, whether it's, from pollen or anything like that, we can start to be short of breath. And as soon as our breathing changes, our breathing is one of the main ways that our bodies keep our spirits in our bodies. So when we are short of breath, when we lose the connection with our lungs and our heart, we really have a hard time maintaining the centeredness that it takes to take our lives to the next level. So I personally use eucalyptus because it opens up my lungs. It helps with my asthma, which is something that I deal with here in the desert. And it also is really useful for clearing conflict. So if you've just had maybe a heated conversation with somebody and you're feeling like, maybe you're not going to exercise that day, or maybe you can't take that extra step in your business that day because you're just too distracted, eucalyptus oil will actually really, really help you. Now, because I call myself a creative medicine woman, and so one of my favorite ways to engage in self-care and engage in those fun things that keep me inspired to keep moving forward in my goals is through creative releases. So that can be anything. That can be my favorite thing, because I'm a musician, is singing and playing music. That really connects me to my personal flow and my personal energy so that I can really move forward. So a lot of times if I'm feeling resistance on maybe doing something for my business or maybe putting together a promotion, I was even feeling resistance about this video. And so I just played a song and I connected to my voice, and I was able to really release that and come to a place of groundedness so that I could speak to you from a place, from spirit, from a place of genuinely wanting to move you forward as well. So creative clearing is a little bit different from being creative. So some people consider themselves, maybe you don't think you're creative, and so that's fine. You don't need to be creative in order to use the creative flow to clear your energy and help keep you grounded. So creativity can be anything from visual art. Maybe you take some time to doodle. The doodle doesn't have to look like anything. It doesn't have to look good. I did a doodle the other other day that I thought looked terrible, but it got my hand moving in a way that just freed up my mind, and I was able to release and let that go. So visual art is a beautiful way to connect to that creative flow and really care for ourselves as we're moving into these uncomfortable places, trying to set and hold and meet our goals. So another way that I love to share with people is writing and journaling. So Dallisa is one of my favorites for talking about automatic writing, and I'm sure she has a video about this. So if you want to learn about automatic writing, definitely check out Dallisa's YouTube page. But you can do journaling, you can do automatic writing, which is just closing your eyes, centering yourself, and connecting to spirit, and then just writing whatever comes to mind. So this is kind of like free association, except that you're allowing spirit to really speak through you. And so I want you to just take a moment again, and like that exercise with mindfulness, I want you to tap in, and I want you to think about a way that you could move forward in your business, in your relationship, or somewhere that you're feeling like, you're a little bit stagnant right now. So just take 10 seconds again and think about one of those areas where you would like to move forward. Okay, so what was that area for you? If you have a pen and paper, I definitely want you to write this down. And when you have maybe 5 or 10 minutes, light a candle, maybe burn some sage or whatever your practice is, and spend 10 minutes just writing about that. Free association, anything that comes to mind, any ideas, no matter how outlandish, because this is how you keep those resolutions and those intentions churning and creative and filling them with life. So these are just a couple of the ways that I use to keep myself inspired, to keep from getting down on myself when maybe I missed a day on my new exercise habit, or maybe didn't move forward on something, is I use these creative clearing techniques in order to keep myself fresh and in order to keep my energy fresh. So if you have any questions or would like some more direction on how to maintain and build new, better habits for yourself in the new year, I am offering a special right now, and you can book 45 minutes with me for $66, and we will specifically focus on what intentions you set for the new year and how to really get you moving forward with that momentum, even after the original energy of that intention has maybe faded. So I just want to thank Dallisa and Spirit and Sparks so much for featuring me in this Tip in 20, and send all of you all of my best and all of my love. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Stay centered, stay grounded, and go and make beautiful, beautiful things.